Have you ever found yourself making decisions that in hindsight seemed irrational or downright foolish? Welcome to the world of cognitive biases, where your brain's sneaky little glitches can steer you off course without a second thought. So grab your mental flashlight and let's discover the 10 key biases lurking in your brain, waiting to trip you up when you least expect it. Confirmation bias is like wearing tinted glasses that filter out any information that doesn't match the color you prefer. It's the tendency to seek, interpret, and remember information in a way that confirms your pre-existing beliefs or hypotheses, while simultaneously ignoring or discounting evidence that contradicts them. Essentially, you cherry-pick information that aligns with what you already think or believe, reinforcing your existing views and making it difficult to consider alternative perspectives. It can lead to echo chambers in your thinking, where you surround yourself with like-minded individuals and shield yourself from dissenting opinions or contradictory evidence. This not only limits your ability to critically evaluate information, but also hinders your personal and intellectual growth. The availability heuristic is like having a mental shortcut that relies on the ease with which you can recall examples or instances of something. It's the tendency to overestimate the likelihood of events or the frequency of occurrences based on how easily they come to mind. Essentially, your brain uses the accessibility of information as a heuristic for estimating probability, assuming that if something readily springs to mind, it must be more common or probable. Imagine you're considering whether to invest in a particular stock. You've recently read a news article about a friend who made a fortune by investing in a similar company, and their success story is fresh in your mind. Even though statistical analysis might suggest that the stock is risky, the vividness and immediacy of your friend's success story make it seem like a more attractive investment option. In everyday life, the availability heuristic can influence a wide range of decisions. For example, if you see news reports of shark attacks, you may become overly fearful of swimming in the ocean, despite the statistical rarity of such incidents compared to other, more common risks. Anchoring bias is like being tethered to a fixed point in decision-making, unable to stray too far from your initial reference point. It occurs when you rely too heavily on the first piece of information you encounter, the anchor, when making subsequent judgments or decisions. Even if the anchor is arbitrary or irrelevant to the decision at hand, it can exert a powerful influence on your thinking, skewing your perceptions and leading to systematic errors in judgment. Imagine you're negotiating the price of a used car. The seller starts the negotiation by stating a price that is higher than what you had anticipated. Despite knowing the fair market value of the car, the initial price suggested by the seller becomes your mental anchor. As a result, even if you manage to negotiate the price down, you may still end up paying more than you originally intended because your perception of what constitutes a reasonable price has been influenced by the initial anchor. By actively questioning the relevance and validity of the anchor and considering a range of alternative reference points, you can make more rational and unbiased judgments. Overconfidence bias is like wearing rose-tinted glasses that make you overly optimistic about your abilities. It's the tendency to have more confidence in your own judgments and abilities than is objectively justified by evidence or experience. Imagine you're a student preparing for a final exam in a challenging course. Despite only briefly reviewing the material and relying on your intuition, you're confident that you'll ace the exam. You dismiss the need for extensive studying or practice, convinced that your intelligence and natural abilities will carry you through. As a result, you neglect to thoroughly review the material, leaving gaps in your understanding and preparation. By cultivating a healthy sense of humility, you create space for self-reflection and introspection, allowing you to confront your blind spots and biases head-on. This self-awareness acts as a check on your overconfidence, prompting you to reconsider your assumptions before making decisions that could have far-reaching consequences. Loss aversion is akin to having a psychological shield that instinctively protects you from the pain of losing something. Essentially, the fear of losing something holds greater sway over your decisions than the prospect of gaining something of equal value. Imagine you're faced with a choice between two investment opportunities. one with a moderate chance of a substantial gain and a small chance of loss, and the other with a guaranteed small gain but no possibility of loss. Despite the first option offering a higher expected return, you find yourself gravitating towards the second option, unwilling to risk experiencing the discomfort of a loss, however small. To counteract the influence of loss aversion, it's important to recognize that losses are an inevitable part of life and growth. By reframing losses as learning opportunities rather than catastrophic failures, you can mitigate the emotional impact they have on your decision-making process. Additionally, setting clear boundaries or thresholds for acceptable losses can help prevent you from succumbing to irrational fears and making overly cautious decisions. The sunk cost fallacy is like being stuck in quicksand, unable to free yourself from the grip of past investments or decisions. Essentially, people allow past costs, which are irrecoverable, to influence their future decisions, even when those decisions no longer make sense from a rational perspective. Imagine you've purchased a non-refundable ticket to a concert, but on the day of the event, you come down with a severe cold. Despite feeling unwell and knowing that attending the concert would likely exacerbate your illness, you feel compelled to go because you've already paid for the ticket. In this scenario, the money spent on the ticket is a sunk cost. It's gone regardless of whether you attend the concert or not, but the desire to get your money's worth influences your decision to attend, even though it may not be in your best interest. To counteract the influence of the sunk cost fallacy, it's essential to recognize that past investments should not dictate future decisions. Instead of focusing on what has already been spent, it's important to evaluate each decision based on its potential future costs and benefits. Self-serving bias is like having a built-in defense mechanism that protects your self-esteem and shields you from accepting responsibility for failures or setbacks. Essentially, you take credit for your triumphs, but deflect blame for your failures, painting yourself in the most favorable light possible. Imagine you receive a promotion at work and you attribute it to your exceptional skills, dedication, and hard work. Conversely, if you fail to secure a promotion, you may blame it on factors beyond your control, such as office politics or unfair competition. In both cases, you maintain a positive self-image by selectively interpreting events in a way that reinforces your perception of yourself as competent and capable. It's important to cultivate a sense of accountability and humility in your interactions with others and yourself. By acknowledging your role in both your successes and failures, you create opportunities for growth and self-improvement. Social proof is like following the crowd because you assume that if everyone else is doing something, it must be the right thing to do. You use the behavior of others as a guide for your own behavior, especially in situations where you're uncertain or unfamiliar. Imagine you're at a new restaurant, trying to decide what to order from the menu. You notice that the table next to you has all ordered the same dish and are raving about how delicious it is. Even if you were initially considering a different option, the positive feedback from others influences your decision and you end up ordering the same dish. Rather than blindly following the crowd, you should evaluate the validity and relevance of the information provided by others and consider whether it aligns with your own values, preferences, and goals. The gambler's fallacy is like believing that past outcomes influence future probabilities, even when each event is independent and random. It's the mistaken belief that if a certain event has occurred more frequently in the past, it's less likely to occur in the future, or vice versa. Imagine you're at a casino playing roulette and the ball has landed on black for the past 10 spins in a row. Despite knowing that each spin is independent and the outcome is purely random, you begin to believe that red is due to come up soon because black has appeared so many times. As a result, you place a large bet on red, mistakenly assuming that past outcomes have any bearing on future spins. It's important to understand and accept the concept of independent events and random probability. Each outcome is determined solely by chance and is not influenced by past events. Negativity bias is like having a mental magnifying glass that zooms in on negative information while overlooking positive aspects. Your brain is wired to be more sensitive to threats and dangers, leading you to prioritize negative stimuli and experiences in your perception and memory. Imagine receiving a performance review at work that includes both positive feedback and constructive criticism. Despite the abundance of praise and recognition for your achievements, you find yourself fixating on the one area where improvement is needed. The criticism weighs heavily on your mind, overshadowing the positive feedback and leaving you feeling deflated and discouraged. Regularly reflecting on positive experiences can help rewire your brain to become more attuned to the positive aspects of life, reducing the disproportionate impact of negative stimuli. Now, can you recall a time when your own biases influenced a decision? Share your experiences in the comment section below. Hit subscribe, join our community, and together, let's illuminate the world with the brilliance of understanding. Until next time, stay vigilant and question everything.